First of all, I want to say thank you for every one of you who get on this live stream, participate with your questions and comments. That gives me a lot of energy and motivation to keep doing those. And today, I would like to make an experiment and put myself on the line by answering your interview questions as if you are interviewing me. So, how it will work today is that you will post your interview questions that you want me to try to answer and explain how to answer them the best. And I'll do my best to give you the answer from my real experience. Of course, I will change a few bits here and there for NDA reasons, but that will be as close as possible to a real life interview. So, with that said, I will start with one most typical question and give you some insights because it's a super critical question that you will get all the time on all interviews. So, keep and pay close attention to what I'm going to say right now. And while I'm explaining this, you can think about your questions. And by the way, if you're wondering who am I to sit here and talk about how to pass interview questions for project managers. So my name is Dmitron Zhebetsky. I am a project management mentor for 12 years already. And I help project managers just like you to build a successful, fulfilling career where your efforts are recognized by organization and by your team. I'm also an author of this big, fancy book, Practical Project Management. It teaches all aspects of project management. And I'm the founder of ITPM School. So, okay, let's dive in. And the one and the only question that you will get most of the time is this. Tell me about yourself. Or you can encounter different variations of these questions like, give me a brief explanation of your experience. Give me like the summary of your experience or something like that. But in essence, it's the same question. Now, you need to understand the psychology and the reason why recruiters ask this question in the first place. And people think, like project managers or interviewees, think that they need to talk about their whole experience. Like, that's not true. Recruiters ask this for multiple reasons. First of all, they want to see your communication skills because you need to formulate a quick story that shares the main ideas in a succinct or compressed way with highlights of your key experiences. And you need to show that you understand what is important in the line of work that you are in. So the best way to answer this question is to, first of all, you need to prepare it in advance. That's one thing. And second, you want to break it into 3 or 4 sections. And depending on your experience, you will slide from left to right in the answer. If you are like a new person, you will start with your university, college, and how you got into the professional experience, then your first job and maybe second job. If you are on more experience level, like you have 15 years of experience, like your university and your first job has little importance, little value in your whole career, and specifically for this current job that you apply for. That's why you need to shift the whole story and start from somewhere in the middle of your career when I was a project manager for 14 years, I became a project manager on 5 years ago and started running big projects. So you got the idea. You need to shift your story, start of your story based on how much experience you have. Then you select one event or maybe maximum 2 events if you can quickly tie them up into one story per job segment or the period of your experience. And you will select a story of a different kind for each of these sections. Like you see on the slide, you will have one event where you organized some work, a group of people, and you discovered that you want to be a project manager. Then you got your first project, and you tell a story how you organized your first team with leadership without authority, and you use some leadership techniques. You did the project correctly, you made customers happy, you got promoted, and then you move to your second job or your like new role after promotion. Then you tell another story, but this story should be different from everything we talked about earlier. And this should be, for example, if you got into a mid-level project manager, you're leading multiple projects, as most of us did or do. And maybe you, in a few years, got promoted, and then one or two events of a senior project manager role that you led. And this might be about stakeholders, about building business, or creating some additional value for customers, clients, or anyone else. So this is how we will structure this, and depending again on what your experience level, you will start and give more attention to each of these sections. And once again, why do recruiters ask this question? They don't want to know your biography. They don't want to know what college you went. They don't want to know all the like stages of your career. They want to see that you can communicate. But second, they need touch points. So they will hear something from your story, and they will ask you to give more details of this story and give more rationale or some maybe specifics of that story, if you pick their interest. And second, if they will continue asking you questions, they may say, okay, in this second job where you told us this story about this project, we understand this complexity. That's why we want to dive deeper and ask about how do you talked about leading multiple projects, and they will ask, okay, how do you manage risks in those multiple projects? So again, the real reason they ask this question is to have multiple touch points where they can go deeper and ask more questions, because they understand the context of those projects or those responsibilities you did there. All right. So if I were to answer these questions, Dmitry, tell me a bit about yourself. And let's assume I am a mid-level project manager, because if I'm a senior project manager, it would be a bit different story. But I'm a mid-level project manager. That's why I'm starting from this left side. And this idea is like, okay, I finished the Maritime Academy, and I learned that I had to switch my careers, and I jumped into IT industry as a tech support engineer. But in few months, I was bored to death, and I started looking for opportunities to improve my working environment. And I noticed that I was doing a lot of repetitive stuff. I was writing the same emails for the same questions. So at this point, I thought I found something. I analyzed thousands of emails and categorized them by the questions. And as a result, I noticed that 95% of all emails follow under only 15 to 17 categories. And that led me to an idea that I can write one template, and I will automatically send this, at least like with one click, to the customers. So I went to my managers, I explained them an idea, they approved the work, I got support from my peers. I also had to get their buy-in to sell them the idea that they will have to work less, and it will be easier, less interactions with other parts in the project. So long story short, I finished this project. We did these template emails and got the whole library, and that was the first project I ever made. So as a result, my work didn't went unnoticed, and I got a proposal to be promoted to a project manager and start a new project. And that's how I became a IT project manager. I got my first client to lead, first application to develop, and I started with a small team, but we had a tight budget with scope that needs to be analyzed and fully fleshed out to be executed first. I had to work very closely with my team, and then I had to work closely with customers to make the ends meet and come up with the cool requirements that everyone approved, and we started the project. So just notice I'm talking about my business analysis skills here right at the start of the career. As a result, we finished this project successfully and clients were happy, so they initiated 2 more projects and I got them to run myself as well. And for the next 2 years, we continued working with this client. I've run 7 projects in parallel. As a result, we released multiple versions of all their products. We created 4 products from scratch. At the end of this period, I was leading a team of 28 28 team members across multiple projects. And that's when I decided that I got enough from this small mobile development and I wanted to go to a large web development. And that's how I landed on this job offer. And here we are talking about this role. Do you want me to dive deeper into any of these stories that I tell? I can explain the details if you are interested. Let me know. So that's the whole answer. That's how I will entice recruiters to follow the stories that I told them rather than talking about some random stuff or switching context into some theoretical questions. And you know that you prepared a great tell me about yourself answer if recruiters say, okay, tell me more about this story, one of the stories that you told. If they listen to that and they, okay, nice story, but now tell me what do you know about risk management? Like totally random theoretical question. That most probably means that you didn't pique their curiosity well enough. All right. Again, I recommend that you guys all have these questions prepared in advance. Good. Now, for those of you who joined later, as I said, this is a live Q&A session, and I'm putting myself on the line here, so you can ask me interview questions, and as if I will answer them on a real interview. All right. So let's start it. This looks like a real how to manage difficult customers and stakeholders in complex projects. Very good question, and also one of the common questions. So thanks for posting it, Aditi. I hope I pronounced it correctly. All right, how do you answer this question? And by the way, one more tip for you. If you get questions in this type of way, when it's like theoretical about like theory of how to manage, you still want to drive it into a situational question. But in most cases, on real interviews, when you get to this level, you will be asked, tell me about a time or situation when you had to deal with difficult customers. Not the theory, but give me a real life example of how you manage difficult customers. But still, if you get this how-to question, like theoretical question, you still drive it. Okay, guys, I had an experience on one of big projects where the main product manager had unreal expectations as for the deadline for the project that we had to deliver. So we had multiple conversations where we tried to prove that uh, his expectations are like impossible, and he didn't want to listen to us. He pushed the team to deliver on the set date. So to ensure that the project still successful in the end and there were no surprises or last moment failures, we started to communicate with other stakeholders, other key stakeholders, and get their support. So we talked with a group of architects where we explained the complexity and dependencies between teams. We showed that there is real work there. We created a lot of breakdown to provide all the details. Then we talked with other product owners. And basically, what I did is I created a group of people with a shared mindset and shared understanding of the complexity to convince this difficult customer to change their mind and set a new deadline for the whole project based on the real facts and explanation from other high or key stakeholders of the project. So this is how I would answer. I wouldn't go into all the theory of how to manage difficult customers. If they say, okay, then can you maybe tell us more about how you would deal with difficult customers? Then I would dwell into theory. And basically what you need to answer in this case is that, okay, this is a problem of stakeholder management and managing their expectations. So a difficult customer or stakeholder usually means is that they have expectations that they don't feel like we are taking seriously. That's why our first priority is to identify all such customers and stakeholders, then identify what they really want from our project, and then develop a strategy to manage their expectations, either through communication or through engagement of like them directly into the project work, so they see how their requirements, how their expectations are implemented by the team on daily basis. And then like there are multiple ways you can actually do it, and it's very situational, but there are some like 10 techniques, general techniques that you can apply to manage expectation of difficult customers. For example, you can and you should always suggest the best next alternative. So difficult customers and stakeholders don't like when you tell them that no, this is not possible. You can say yes, it's possible, but it costs or it takes that much of effort. And at the same time, we have a next alternative, which is this is like, and you explain the solution. Maybe you added or add or remove some scope of work. Then you might say like, okay, they have cognitive limitation. So that means that they treat us as resources, as people. So usually the best strategy here is to go on site to this kind of stakeholders, meet them live, have a lunch together, talk through all the concerns that they have and build relationships. That's strategy number 2, and so on. And you can like talk for 2 hours how to manage until people don't stop you. I hope this gives you the idea. All right, thanks for the question. For all of you, I'll repeat, you can post your questions. I will try to answer them as many as I can in our time frame. So let's move on. Okay, we have Gleb here. The question is quite simple, but it's like the supporting base for future accomplishment. What's your definition of good PM? Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Especially you will get this question a lot on like when you on a junior level project manager roles, or you want to become a project manager. But also I saw that at senior level role, someone loves to ask this. So how I would say this is that a project manager is an integrator. He connects all the dots between different people, different opinions, different requirements, and puts it in a transparent system from one side. And once we have all this system of the project, we provide the transparent plan on implementing this project, this vision of the project, and how we are going to reach the project objectives. After that, good PM should be a good communicator to communicate all this stuff, educate all the stakeholders about his or her project management approach, including all the essential processes, essential responsibilities of stakeholders and the team in general. So in the long run, it should all materialize in a repeatable, transparent, workable workflow, or the sets of workflows that the team can repeat to produce one deliverable at a time. It's a bit fancy, and I would answer this as if I'm like a senior project manager to a senior project manager. If you are a junior project manager, your answer would be like a good project manager is a good communicator, a good leader, and they bring transparency to the customers and key stakeholders. And their main goal is to get or achieve the project objectives. Obviously, you need to add more details here, but that's the general direction. All right, thanks for your question, Gleb. 3 major issues you fixed as PM recently and which really made impact on project. All right, that's a cool question. Like, what specifically you as a project manager did? And one company like Amazon, if you go to their interviews for a role of project manager, they will always ask you to, when you tell about your stories, they will ask you specifically to name what was your contribution. Not like we worked as a team and we delivered like this solution or this improvement. No. What was your contribution? Was it your idea? Did you organize the work? Tell me what was it. So very good question. All right, I will answer it as a mid-level project manager in my mid-level career, because senior project management is much more like detached from actual project management work. Or maybe I'll answer from both perspectives. So 3 major issues I fixed. I like when I worked in my previous jobs, there was an issue with transparency. As we talked about, it's one of the key benefits that project management should bring. And that's why I implemented an idea of one tool. So we got rid of all the spreadsheets, all the additional documentation that was like related to managing a project, and everything got into Azure DevOps. All sprints, all tasks, all the work related to all the user stories, including design, including business analysis, everything was transparently tracked in this one tool. All the test cases were moved out of Excels into the test management system in that thing. So I've created a transparent environment for customers that they can use dashboards and see the status of the project in real time. That's number 1. Second, in the process, obviously, I fixed inefficiencies in quality assurance, where I insisted on building the prioritized test management plan with all test cases prioritized and based on available time and scale of release. We could scale the efforts of quality assurance team. And by the way, we can add here as maybe a third thing, I introduced impact analysis. So the idea is that whenever a new feature comes into a product, and it's a big and complex product, a QA team must do impact analysis on the requirements level. And if they see possible impact on our functionality or integrations, they must specify that inside PBI, and then reflected in their test cases. And by the way, that was a tremendous improvement in quality assurance. Defects like disappeared. Okay, if I were to answer this question as a senior project manager, like my latest uh, latest stages of a career. So number one, I for a unique software development product organization product, I've created a full life cycle, describe the full life cycle in terms of deliverables across multiple phases of the project. As a result, we were able to systemize the whole project management approach around creating deliverables. At the same time, we had the flexibility to say, okay, any team can implement these deliverables in any possible way they want, but they should report on the progress of these deliverables. Number two, I clean up Jira and set up clear, transparent, minimalistic Jira setups for, I think, like 37 teams by grouping them into 4 categories and creating different setups for each of the department based on how they work. And third, I've created a video series that communicated the strategy and the need for a change in project management and the key ideas that every single team member of this whole organization had to understand and watch and know how to use. And it was about stakeholder management because everyone was like communicating with lots of stakeholders and they need to track all work inside Jira. So that's my version, depending on the when I would answer this question. So great question, thanks. All right. So Vijay, you posted a lot of questions. I'll jump from uh, okay. I'll jump from your questions to other people's questions back and forth, so I can give time to everyone. Explain me your difficult project. Okay, one of the most difficult projects I led was like a part. I was a part of a big safe framework or environment where about 10 teams, software like Scrum teams, working on one product at the same time, using the safe environment, and we were developing new functionality in like groundbreaking uh, speeds or performance levels. At the same time, we had to work with dozens of stakeholders, and quite often we had to fight for the attention of subject matter experts. Sometimes we had to work with or find the subject matter experts in this big corporation. Uh, and the main challenge was to track all the dependencies and risks across all the teams because at the same like moment, every team could make changes that will break or impact other teams' functionalities, which was the main problem of this whole program. And stakeholder management on top of that was like crazy because everyone was under pressure to lead their part of the project to success, and sometimes they contradicted, and we always were fighting for the resources and priorities. And as a result, like for almost a year, it was a real struggle where I was not managing a team rather than I was managing expectations and stakeholders like 8 hours per day. Definitely, if you were like getting one of these questions, you will go into more details. But I expect that at my level, like of experience, there will be like follow up questions. Okay, well, what were you doing? All right. By the way, guys, if you see this barcode, I would like to invite you to my workshop. So the dates are set on September 26th. We'll start, and it's a 3 days online workshop where I will explain my whole career development framework for project managers. So I'll explain you how to build a successful career with fulfilling projects, with the fulfilling assignments, and in the projects where you can make your real impact based on your real skills. So you can scan this barcode, and fill out a short form. It's free of charge. Come and join me and learn everything that I learned about career of a project manager in my in my 12 years of mentoring other PMs. You can find the link under the video as well. All right. I will jump to other person, Vijay. I'll come back to your questions. I see a lot of questions that you. Okay, can you talk a little on CI/CD pipelines? I assume this is kind of an interview question, and don't take me for granted. When it's, I would say like this: I have some knowledge, as with all the technical stuff. But I prefer to delegate it and set the right requirements to all the CD or CI/CD pipelines that we build as a part of our projects. So CI/CD is kind of a concept that comes from mostly agile world, I would say. And the idea is that we want to speed up and simplify the process of creating our application or versions of our application, delivering it to the required environments, and also including delivering it into production environment if needed. And along the way, we can fill up this pipeline with different processes that can assure quality, maybe assure security of the code, and any stuff that we can think of. So usually we like pack this together, continuous integration and continuous delivery, but in real world, it's usually like separate parts, and sometimes people manage to put it into one system. So basic continuous integration idea is that every time any developer commits a code into the production or like main branch, the pipeline will be triggered to create a new build. And there might be like multiple ideas here. It might be a new build that will pass some integration or unit tests, and it will be put somewhere. It might be that it will be created, delivered to QA team, notifications sent, they will do some manual testing. Or it might be, it will just create, and some selected builds will continue through pipeline if needed. So it depends on how you organize this stuff. Again, along the lines, you can include several steps to assure quality, maybe deliver it to specific environments. And usually we work in different environments. So, and some basic system is that, okay, we start in dev environment. So this is the most volatile environment where developers can do whatever they want. And they still try not to break this environment with their code, but no one cares what it is. It's a playground. But once a developer implements a feature and he tested it, it's okay to use, then we use the pipeline to promote this build into next environment, usually QA, quality assurance environment. At this environment, we test maybe one build a day, maybe one build a week, maybe one build a month, depending on the scale of the application. And the idea is that, okay, it's a more stable environment. Again, we're changing it not every hour, we're changing it every day, every week. And once the build got here, QA team starts testing it. Once they are satisfied with the quality, they say, okay, this build with this set of features, like it's a package, we can deploy it to staging, the most stable environment, quite often with real data, and we can put it for customers to do the acceptance testing. The pipeline pushes this build and it gets to the staging environment. And the same after all the testing is done, all the quality assurance is done, and this is the final build. Like you can imagine, there might be first build on staging environment with 2 features, then next build with more 2 features, and the third build on staging environment is like release candidate. All features are done, all defects are fixed, We test it very thoroughly before releasing, and ideally, with a click of a button, this same build goes into the staging environment. So as you can see, there is like a lot of quality assurance also intertwined here. And the idea is that CI/CD pipeline also allows you to track which build with which features and changes of code, which version of code got into specific stage of your environment. So you always know what build came to QA environment or staging environment, and so on. And the ideal scenario is that you have the CI/CD pipeline fully built. It's packed with quality assurance, automatic tests, and you click a button, or you kind of not even click a button. You make a commit of the code uh, on the lowest development environment. You test it. If you're okay, you push it right away through the whole pipeline, and it goes directly to production environment as a small change. But because there is a lot of quality assurance automation packed into this pipeline, ideally this code never breaks the production environment. But in my practice, I never saw it. I heard about some of my colleagues who worked in Facebook or Meta that they have something like that in certain applications. I hope this answers the question. If you need more technical stuff, I'm not the person to talk about CI/CD pipelines. You can and should Google it. All right. Gleb, with another question. Thanks for the question. What are the most asked questions in a theory part for people who are at the start of their career? All right, good question. If you are like starting out, you want to become a project manager, or usually on a junior level, most theoretical questions like the one we answered before. What are the benefits of project management, or what does it mean to be a good project manager? This is like the first question. Second question, what motivates people and what doesn't motivate? It can come in different flavors, like do money motivate people? That's a tricky question, and you should know how to answer it. Then question about how do you create estimates for a project? And of course, you should go into all the details about breaking down deliverables into tasks and then estimating tasks and summarizing everything up. Otherwise, you are kind of guesstimating. Risk management, like theory of risk management. What's about it? Like, how do you do risk management on theoretical level? Like framework that you need to identify a risk, log them, do the analysis, somehow prioritize them, and then include them into your project management plan and work from there. What else? Common question: do you have technical skills? I don't know if someone asked it already, but maybe that's a good idea to answer it. So, guys, I'm a technical project manager. I even had a title that said I'm technical delivery manager, but I don't have technical background. I don't have technical skills. At some point of time, I learned a bit of coding on Objective-C, just like side hobby, side interest. I had some time on the project when I could dedicate it. So whenever you have this question, okay, do you have technical skills, technical background? You should answer it like either you have or not. Like you can say yes, I have, or no, I don't have, and you should follow it up with but. As a project manager, I think that it's not a good practice when a project manager makes technical decisions, because the idea is that we as project managers should leverage the experience that we have in the team, because I'm spending most of my time doing and gaining skills in project management, leadership, organization, and stuff like that, while my developers, my subject matter experts, spend the same time developing their technical skills and expertise. That's why my approach is that, yes, I develop my technical awareness. I know the technology on a level where I can explain it in simple words, but I never take or make technical decisions on my own. I get the information from the team. And the main strategy here, I always ask them to transform technical problem into a business problem or requirements problem, and give me pros and cons of different solutions, so that I can make a business decision, or give this question, give this problem to customers to make the business decision. Then we'll transform it back into technical solution, break it down, implement it. That's how we work around technical skills. I think you can like take every knowledge domain from PMBOK guide, like scope management, risk management, time management, and ask the general question: how would you create a schedule? How would you create estimates? How do you manage risk? How do you assure quality? And you should be able to answer it on a high level, as a framework, as a set of processes and tools, even if you never implement them. All right, let's move on. I hope this. Okay, Mark. Hi, Mark. Welcome to the live stream. How I started learning IT project management. Okay, that's not an interview question. Sorry. I don't know how to answer it on an interview. But I can rephrase it. How, if someone asks how I got into IT project management, or how I learn technical skills, so I would say, yeah, I usually dedicate some time where I review the tech news, review the tech sites, read through these landing pages from Microsoft, Amazon, where they have all this advertisement about how cool their system is. And then I dive deeper into the marketing or overview section, watch these introduction videos to understand the IT world better. That's if that's an interview question. Okay, if I want to become an IT project manager, what's the best? Okay, what's the best major or business administration? If you want to become a project manager, you don't need any degree, certification, or anything like that. So, depending if you are already a project manager, you just make a career switch. You learn a bit of technical awareness, you learn a bit of technical stuff, and then you apply to all possible jobs. You just need to get into this industry, get one project done, because during this one project you will absorb enormous amount of information required to fulfill your duties, and no theoretical certification or education will prepare you for this. So either, if you are just not a project manager, learn the basics of project management. This is a great book for you to start, and then learn technical skills, learn agile frameworks, and you are good to go. All right, that's not first you can propose for, okay, Gleb has another great question. I actually got something like this once on an interview. What methods of improving processes can you propose for our company? So ideally, like, you can Google, and most probably you will find some structured approaches on process improvements or system improvements. And there is a book, I don't remember about system, that I read. A lot of interesting insights happen there when you start doing the improvements. But the main idea is that it's like step-by-step process, like any improvement. First, you will try to identify either a bottleneck, inefficiency, or a place which you can automate, for example, but it's inefficiency in its way. Then you will collect ideas from the team and stakeholders. So you treat any improvement as a project, because if you just go ahead and start changing or improving processes, you will face the resistance. And that might be a catch in this question. You need to understand that any changes in the processes and tools in the organization lead to change, to resistance, and you need to apply proper change management ideas. Okay, so you get buy-in from some key stakeholders, you get ideas and buy-in from team members who will help you to implement it. And then you implement an improvement first on one project, on one area. You, in the process, need to collect data that will prove that you achieve the improvement of performance compared to previous state. Once you do it, you present all your findings, all your improvements and data to key stakeholders, and you start the second phase. Ideally, you lead it to implement the same improvement across other projects, across other areas of the organization. And again, you started with getting support of more people because you will need to work cross department, cross functionally, and that will require more communication. And across all of these processes, you will focus on communicating the benefits of a new approach. You will you will focus attention of stakeholders on a need for education for the new process. It's not like just put it out there and it will work somehow. And again, you make data-driven decisions. I would answer it like this. On top of my head, I don't have a real change management framework that I could spell out on an interview. Okay, let's see. Aditi, how do you use AI in project management work to improve efficiency? Give examples. Good question. On time, like that's something that will be more frequent in the coming years. People will ask it more often. So in my case, when I was using AI for real project management, the biggest impact I saw is on creating requirements for typical situations. Like my most common example is that every application, every system needs a login page. And by the way, that's the most golden, like the golden piece of any application, because everyone has to reinvent their login page. And frankly speaking, inventing a wheel here every time, like it doesn't make sense. So you can ask AI to write you all the user stories for a typical login page. And if you input some requirements like, okay, I will have two-factor authentication, I will need all the error messages, I will need strong password requirements, I will need, I don't know, localization on that page. If you just give it to AI and you will ask it to create these user stories, most probably you will save like enormous amount of business analysis time. And if you don't have business analysts, then you will get requirements better than you will write yourself. Second, if your organization allows it to use tools to transcribe meetings and combine them into action items, summaries, that's another example that easy to introduce if you don't use it right now. So you can use that. Real life example is when I had a documentation, like full website, wiki site, and I needed a quick answer. I feed that link to ChatGPT and ask a very specific question, and I got a very specific answer with the points where that is written on those pages. So quickly finding something is also an example. Okay, I hope this answers your question. Give few examples here and there. Okay, let's see. We have some. All right, that's Bibi, Bibi's corner. I hope the corner uh, owner is Bibi. So thanks for the question. It's something that we already discussed, but maybe it's a good idea to reiterate with another example. So, question: in your last project, what was your role and contribution towards the project's successful delivery? So, what was my role? As a project manager, I was responsible for all aspects of the project. And this project was aimed at creating a brand new product from scratch and deliver the first version with the functionality which will satisfy the users at this like initial release. And the challenge of this project was that it was like a blank page, like a classical project charter start from the idea. We need like we have one product, it's like based on pictures. We need the similar product but based on text only. So this project, like my role was to organize it end to end, break it down into phases to ensure that we use the available resources and we share the resources across multiple projects in this account. So I had to phase it out to first collect the requirements, create user designs, and then write out the specifications for new product. And at that role, I was also part-time business analyst or product manager. So I had to do it myself, working closely with designers and UI experts that we had on that team. After that, we went into the second phase, into development. So we structured it all out into deliverables, into different releases or versions of application, which will include separate features. And that way we were able to introduce every month a new functionality for customers to play with and to get us feedback. So kind of the classical agile implementation. By the way, this story comes from times when agile wasn't that popular and Scrum wasn't all around. So uh, after that, so we got good feedback on first features and we were able to adjust our requirements in the process. And I believe this was my biggest contribution to the success of the delivery because I got in-depth understanding of the product's needs and the need for experts and real users to test this product before like starting developing other features. And as we implemented it iteratively, incrementally, we were able to achieve a great product that customers and users liked as a result. Something like that. That's from my middle portion of career when I was mid-level project manager. Good question. All right, guys, I will take a moment to remind for all of the newcomers who joined maybe lately that in September 26th, I will like run this workshop for all project managers. And if you are an ambitious project manager who wants to build a successful career, and for some reasons you are stuck at this level, you're probably running multiple projects right now, or you can't like put your CV in such a form that recruiters see you, or you can't get to the senior level role, this workshop is for you. I will give you a framework that you will use for the rest of your career to move like rapidly, always moving rapidly to your next level role. So you see this barcode here at the top somewhere and a link in the description. So I invite you for this workshop because it will make a breakthrough in your career. I can promise that. All right, let's get back. We have some time for a few more questions. And thank you so much for your energy and participation. I really like where it's going. Okay, Gulab, John. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Good question. What is your approach towards crisis management? I was once in a crisis like mode when customers accumulated unsatisfaction for almost 6 months, and then they just poured it over and like said, okay, we'll like cancel the project and terminate the contract right away, and blah blah blah. So it was a very stressful time. Uh, so how do you manage any crisis? So first of all, crisis happens. Everyone is like crazy. There are angry mails, angry meetings, everything's happening at the same time. So step number one, as a project manager, I assume that's like client or product owner, project manager relationship. So you must acknowledge that you see the crisis, you understand the concern, and you will solve it. For example, let's take a real example. So you have a application service on production environment, something breaks, your whole system doesn't work, like tech support is flooded with the tickets, and they like world is not working anymore. So first step, you write an email, you say, yes, we understand, we acknowledge, we see this crisis, we understand that it needs to be fixed as soon as possible. I'm on it, I'm solving it with the team. I will get back to you in 2 hours or like whatever time frame that feels correct for you, but don't take like, I will reply in 2 days. If it's a crisis, you will say, I will reply in a few hours, and meantime, I'm trying to find the root cause of the problem. Then you jump and try to find the root cause of the problem with the team. In parallel, you want to notify your internal stakeholders, your boss, and other people that might be like triggered if they learn about it from stakeholders and customers. That will be a bad process. You should write them and say, okay, we have a crisis here, we have a problem, I'm on it, I'm in communication with stakeholders and customers. So in 2 hours, your main role here is that in 2 hours you will write another email, and you will either have the root cause of the problem, or you'll say, we are still working, but we are on the matter, we will come back in another 2 hours, don't worry, blah blah blah. If you want to have a meeting with me, I will show you what we're working on, that's okay. So again, you are managing expectations, you are managing frustrations, and you are controlling the emotions. You want to include all possible stakeholders who can help you, but at the same time, you want to limit those stakeholders that cannot contribute but will just like run around and scream and use all the buzzwords of crisis management. So, depending on how severe the problem, your next step is that you will come up with an action plan. Either you fix it right at the spot, it's a simple fix, you like quickly fix it with CI/CD pipelines that we discussed earlier, or you will come up with an action plan with like hour by hour things that you will do, when you will communicate, when you will try to fix the issue, how much time it will take, who will do it, and so on. In some cases, it's okay to create these war rooms to have this communication so everyone's on the same page. But again, you must control who is there so that there is no unnecessary noise there. And after that, you focus on implementing that action plan. You focus on communicating every milestone that you promised to communicate. This is the most important thing. Like everything else is like, it cannot be done faster. It cannot be like, you cannot do some magic. All you can do is control the damage that this uncertainty and frustration makes. That's why you communicate, and you make small promises. I promise that we are on this matter. I promise that we're looking into the root cause. I promise that we'll follow this action plan and we'll solve the problem. I promise that I will come back to you in 2 hours. I promise you that I will come back on the progress like in the morning, and so on. And hopefully you will end up with finishing this crisis. You will fix your production environment, and that's not all. At this point, you will kind of fix the crisis part of it. You will fix the product or service, but you still need to do the damage control of the stakeholders' expectations and emotions and trust in you. So what you need to do is to do the post-mortem analysis, uh, whatever approach you like. But the idea is that you should say that me and my team did the analysis and we tried to find the root cause, and the root cause is this. Uh, we why didn't we predicted it beforehand? Why didn't we catch it in advance? Well, you give the reasons, and you like one important thing here. In most cases, honesty will be the best policy. Like if you transparently show that yes, we missed this, yes, it wasn't covered by test cases, or yes, somehow we didn't catch this defect though we did the testing around this area, or we didn't thought through this, and this is our lesson learned, so we will ensure that this thing will never happen and anything around this area will never happen again. And the only caveat here, sometimes stakeholders will want to put blame on someone, and like the right thing to do is that you should never allow any stakeholder to go to a real developer, that guy who did this mistake or didn't catch this mistake, or QA engineer who didn't catch the defect. You will never allow them to speak with these stakeholders. You will say, okay, they only, like, if you want to blame me, blah, blah, blah. Because that's what ethical project managers would do. All right, I hope this answers your question. Let's see, a few more. Donald. So, what's the first thing you do when starting a new project? Well, it all depends on when I join the project. If I start this project like from scratch, most probably I would create a project charter, or like again, I don't for most project. For most projects and most project managers in most industries, unless there is a mandatory document, project chart, I don't recommend creating a formal document. Instead, you need to collect the information from this project chart, like what are the business needs of the project, what are the boundaries, what are the main high-level requirements, what expected deliverables, and most importantly, do we have the vision of the solution which will allow us to get to project success, project goals. So if we know that we need to develop an application or IT system or something like that, that's good enough. If I'm jumping in like later maybe, or even earlier during pre-sales phase, the idea would be the same. I would first start with setting the boundaries of what I'm going to plan after that, what we're going to do after that. Because based on the knowledge of the solution that we want to create, based on the knowledge whether customers have the requirements in their head that I can extract, or we will be doing this iteratively using agile frameworks. This will dictate how I will structure the project further. So that should be all what I will do. After that, that's classical project management structure from major deliverables and the vision of the project. I will go and try to break it down to smaller pieces, identify what needs to be done deliverables wise, what deliverables I need to create for this project. Obviously, maybe not obviously, sorry, it's not obvious. You must do stakeholder management at the start of the project. You are starting stakeholder management, like you are identifying all stakeholders that could help you with this new project, even like before you get it. You're building a relationship inside your company, but after that, you also start asking, okay, who can help me with this specific project, with this specific problem? So stakeholder management is also at the start of the project. It's just something that happens for me, and I recommend that you should always be in stakeholder identification mode. Okay, that's my answer. I don't know if there is anything else I could say. All right, so let me see. J. Mar, how do you integrate AI into project management today? We talked about it, and maybe that's a good point for you to go back and watch this live stream recording. But basically, for today, for most project managers, it will be collecting requirements and writing if you don't have business analyst, like professional business analyst, summarizing information and finding information from like big pile of documentation and information. For now, it's like that. Maybe some generating ideas. So you give the input to AI and you ask them, okay, what typical risks such projects have? So basically, what you have right now in terms of AI tools is as good as you can ask the right questions. The biggest problem with AI that you need to, it has like enormous amount of information, but you need to learn how to narrow it down to the needs of the answer you're searching. So one of the approaches that I use, I always tell AI what are they. So you are a world-class project manager leading IT project for creating blah blah blah. We need to create such solution. What are the typical risks of such project? But don't give me the generic stuff like running over budget or like uncertainty. Give me specific examples in each area. Structure it as 5 categories with 5 examples in each category. That will give you quite an interesting answer for that question. I hope that helps. I probably would answer this as an interview question the same way. Okay, web developer, Yemen. So, what to do when there is no system analyst? The real answer, you suffer. Because if a project really requires a business analyst or system business analyst at a level where you need to spend 8 hours a day either like reviewing documentation or digging deep into databases to see what information is stored in those databases and how it's related, or talking with clients about what they need and then transforming it into the user stories and specifications, you just have a problem. You have a resource problem. So what you do here, you go and start selling the benefits of having a professional system analyst to your customers, to your boss, to anyone who can make the decision to hire a system business analyst. If you are not in this situation and it's like part-time job, then most probably you still need to suffer. You will dedicate a lot of time for that. And in this case, yeah, most probably today, AI is your best solution. So use AI to help you write the initial drafts and then like adjust them to real needs of your real projects. And another thing that you can do is actually, if it's not a super complicated project, you must delegate part of like investigation, research, and analysis to other team members so that they give you the summarized information of their findings, and then you can write some requirements with their input. But basically, that's a typical problem. If you don't have business analysts and there is a lot of business analysis tasks, you need to start working with stakeholders and boss and clients to persuade them to hire one. Yeah, I think this would answer. All right, guys. Maybe one more question. Let just type last question. I'll choose one, and while you're typing, I will one more time invite you. If you haven't joined the workshop, here's a barcode. There is a link below this video. On this workshop, I'll be sharing the most important things that I learned while mentoring project managers throughout 12 years of my professional career. We'll talk about resumes, about identity, about how you show up in your resume and on interview. That will be eye-opening for most project managers here. We will discuss what's the best way to describe your experience, and it all will form up into a career development strategy or framework that you will reuse throughout your whole career, and it will help you achieve your roles, new heights much faster. So barcode somewhere there, scan it or take the link in the description. All right, guys, any other questions? Feel free to ask, or I will go back. I have some questions I didn't answer from Vijay. Okay, I'll do that. What's the day-to-day job of a project? Oh, this is a good one. This, Vijay, once again, thanks for a bunch of great questions. This question you will get throughout, like from junior to mid-level. Maybe people will stop asking when you're a senior project manager. What's your day-to-day job as a project manager? Here's a fancy way I would answer it first. The day-to-day responsibility of a project manager is to motivate people to follow my project management approach. That's the fancy way. Obviously, I would continue by explaining it. So obviously, as a project manager, I need to ensure that people use the processes and tools that I introduced and we agreed to use to run this project. So including task management, risk management, whatever system we have. After that, I understand that my role is to keep the team motivated to perform to their best. First of all, to put their heart and soul into the product or solution that we develop, and at the same time to keep them motivated to follow the routine and workflow that allow me to keep the project transparent and to make the data-driven decisions based on the performance data that we have inside our tools. As a result, we are day-to-day working towards creating tangible deliverables and getting acceptance from customers and clients. At the same time, on top of that, my main day-to-day responsibility is to ensure that all stakeholders have all the required information and their expectations at this stage of the project or this day of the project are met. That would be my answer to this question. All right, guys. All right, Gleb has another good question. I think I will answer it. Okay, I will answer this one because a typical question for IT project managers. So what would you do if QA team and dev team had a quarrel about quality and stability of software they both produce? Whose position would you take? How do you resolve the issue? So that's a great question because it tests a deep understanding of project integration in terms of requirements. Because in this situation, the answer would be the ideal person to resolve this problem is not a project manager, but business analyst. So if a QA team and dev team has a quarrel about quality and stability of a software, it's a problem of requirements. So a defect, the quality of the product, relates to the way how closely it's implemented to the requirements. So if something doesn't work according to the requirements, then it's a defect. If stability is a problem, it's a lack of requirements regarding stability and performance of the application. Then it's a problem to the business analyst. And business analyst then should take it, note it, and create requirements to performance and stability. That way, we're driving this conflict from QA team and developers, because they're involved and they're like working with each other. But the root cause is not because there is a quarrel about quality. It's a lack of requirements to which you can appeal, because QA team appeals to the written requirements. If something works not as written in the requirements, for them, that's a defect. If they see that stability is a problem, but it's definitely not written, then it's a gray area. And the mediator here, the person who should resolve this problem, is actually a business analyst, by providing new requirements to stability so that software engineers would implement it. And then we'll repeat the cycle and the problem will disappear. Gleb, how do you find this answer? All right. One more? I still see you guys still hanging out. We still have 17 people on this stream and you're not going anywhere. Okay, one more question, because we have one more thing. And that's the last one, I promise. What to do if a team member is not responding to changes in the project? I would assume this is like process related. You have some changes in the project management approach, or maybe you have some changes in the product and they don't like those changes. So in both cases, the idea is that it's a conflict. Let's start with this. It's a conflict. We need to recognize that it's a conflict, and we need to follow the standard conflict resolution technique. So first of all, it's definitely one-on-one conversation with a very specific team member. We don't do it publicly. We don't do it with the team unless we discover later that there is a team discussion. But at the start, we go to this team member and we try to find out the root cause of his or her resistance. So why they don't respond to the changes in the project? Why don't they want to follow the process, or don't want to change, to make the change in the project? And here, one of the techniques you can use, like you can ask 5 whys, unless it's his answer is some meaningful answer. You will continue asking, so why don't you want to follow this process? Well, it's a stupid process. So why don't you want to, why do you think this is a stupid process? Well, I have to log into Jira and track all my hours, Dave. It takes a lot of time. It takes more than time. So why does it take a lot of time? Because logging into Jira, adding more time is 5 minutes of your time to log for each task. And by the way, we are paying you for these 5 minutes, so I don't see the problem. Is just include this into your estimate. If you need 10 minutes, take 10 minutes to log in your hours, for example. Then say, no, no, it doesn't take 5 minutes, and I don't see why I should spend this time. So why, it's a process that all the team works, and we are we have the process in the company. That's our way to track your salary based on hours you put into this project. Why don't you want to track it? Well, actually, lately I had some troubles with my dog, and I had to spend a lot of time outside. So maybe I need few days off That's why actually I was not able to properly track my time. I'm a bit exaggerating this example, but in my experience, there was so many cases when people say like, "I don't want to do this, and this is stupid," and then it's when you unroll it, it comes to something personal and some like stuff they are a bit embarrassed to share. That's why like you have to find the root cause of the problem, and then you have to work with the root cause. So let's assume for some reason this person, as a I don't know, very ambitious software developer, says that I don't want to waste my precious time on this task management, blah 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 blah, because I have so many tasks. And this is one of the toughest cases uh, to crack, because again, it's kind of emotional and childish and not professional. So you have to talk with this person and start working through these concerns and saying, okay, if you are overworked, tracking your time will help me to level your workload. I will ensure that you will work less. And if you are overloaded but you still track time, most probably you have to increase your estimates, give yourself some buffer, some breathing space. And if not actual tasks is the problem, maybe meetings. Let's see what meetings you have. Let me work with you on your workload on these unnecessary meetings. I can try to reduce those. And basically, you start working out a win-win solution in a professional and ethical way. And you basically, my recommendation is you like give this person free tries. You suggest the best solution you can in the environment. Up to that, okay, we can try to automate it. Okay, we can like just write me a message and I will put it into Jira for you. I don't know, whatever works. And the idea is that at some point you should work this out to a point where it's come on man, it's unprofessional and it's like basic ethical work style here. We need this data inside our tool, and so on and so on and so on, until they either accept it or they like understand your position. At the same time, if the person doesn't respond for like 3 times, on the third time you say, come on man, this is unprofessional, I'm reporting from the next time unless you follow our established processes. I'm everyone's using it. There is a reason why. I explain it multiple times. I suggested multiple solutions. The next time you fail to do this, I'll report to you. We'll start the performance review for you. And if we cannot find a solution, we should say goodbye. Sometimes that's what you need to do. If the person is so stubborn on business side of the project. Sometimes there are cases when developers don't want to implement some feature because they have some kind of attachment to the current version. So unless it's a like product company where there is a culture of suggesting improvements, you need to remind this person that, okay, you should not attach yourself to the product because these decisions are on client side. Unless you can give me a real technical issue or problem that can arise with this project or this solution, we must implement it because like we are contractors here, we're working for the customers or for our department manager, so they make the call. And in any case, if there is a problem that you see and you want to highlight it, explain it to me. I'll go to the corresponding stakeholder and explain that. If that doesn't work, again, you will get to this 3 attempts cycle. All right, guys, we are an hour and a half into this session. It was a great time with you. Thank you all for participating, for all the great questions, and stay tuned for the next week. I hope we will meet again and we will discuss Most probably motivation and leadership. For today, that's all. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to answer your questions. I hope it will help you to pass more interviews and get the job offer that you deserve.